Hello and welcome to InfoHub. Here is what you need to know for today, Tuesday, June 26, 2018. Fit and proper, that is the CCJ's ruling on the constitutional presidential term limit. Presidential term limit judgment validates work of Constitutional Reform Commission, PM Nagamutu. Government rubbishes opposition leaders' claims of voter padding. CDC continues monitoring and relief efforts in flooded Rupununi communities. And Minister Norton warns against sexual harassment in sports. And now for the details. The CCJ ruling on presidential term limit case is especially meaningful for those who served on the Constitutional Reform Commission in the 90s, says Prime Minister Moses Nagamutu.
In reacting to the CCJ ruling, Prime Minister Nagamutu said it validates the work undertaken by the Constitutional Reform Commission.
It means that our Constitution is supreme. It means that if the Constitution says that there are only 2 terms for a person wanting to be president, then that is the law.
The Prime Minister, who is currently performing the functions of President, noted he served on the Constitutional Reform Commission in 1996. The 1999 Constitutional Reform Commission conducted nationwide consultations to make the Constitution more relevant to citizens' needs and reduce racial and political tensions. President of the CCJ, Sir Dennis Byron, in his ruling, concluded these constitutional amendments reflected Guyana's evolving democracy.
But it was clear from the history of the amendments that they did not emerge from the desire of any political party to manipulate the candidacy for the presidency according to its agenda. It represented the considered opinion of the 1999 Constitutional Reform Commission after extensive national consultation.
Minister of State Joseph Harman notes the country can now move forward in unity to address issues affecting it.
The ruling itself, I believe, should bring to an end speculations. It basically says that the interpretation which the courts have given to provisions in our Constitution are important. It also reinforces the fact that citizens of this country can utilize the judicial process to get an outcome.
The CCJ, in a majority decision, ruled that the amendments to Article 90 of the Constitution to restrict who can become president and how long they can serve was validly enacted. For InfoHub, Tiffany Rogers.
The Alliance for Change believes that the decision of the Caribbean Court of Justice in the case of the Attorney General of Guyana versus Cedric Richardson is consistent with the Constitution of Guyana and what it intends. According to the party, this decision of Guyana's highest court reaffirms the paramountcy of the rule of law and of the sovereignty of the Parliament, as it must never be forgotten that the Parliament of Guyana unanimously approved the raft of constitutional reforms that ushered in an era of inclusive governance where winner-take-all politics was dismantled. This case was about Jagdeo accessing Guyana's oil wealth and doling out the remaining oil blocks to his friends and cronies. It was, however, a desperate attempt by Jagdeo and his cabal, who have literally run out of options, having been resoundingly rejected by the Guyanese people, who, with each passing day, are feeling more and more disconnected and estranged from the PPP. In closing, the AFC stated that Guyana's integrity and respect on the international stage has been restored. Once again, Guyanese can be proud of their country and its leadership. This is a time for us to move forward in confidence, not look back in regret and return to the failed leadership of the past. In the end, this case was one for every Guyanese, particularly the young people, and for our country's future. InfoHub caught up with Minister Trotman at Ogle Airport as he was preparing to leave on an overseas trip. Tiffany Rogers has the details.
Minister Trotman praised God for what he said was an expected ruling. He added that the ruling vindicated the bipartisan efforts of the Constitution Reform Commission.
Today we are vindicated, and today we know that the Parliament and its representatives, who of course represent the views of the people, all those are paramount, and we have managed to arrest, I believe, a sick attempt to thwart all of those gains and to wash away all of the labours of the last decade and a half.
Minister Trotman compared the ruling to winning the election all over again.
It gives us a new chance another chance to do some introspection, to assess where we are, and how can we as a people, and this is not just as a government, but this is how can we as government and opposition and civil society join hands together to give true meaning to our Constitution.
The ruling also means Guyana can exile, as the watershed case has reaffirmed the rule of law. Minister Trotman, who was a party in the court matter, said. For InfoHub, Tiffany Rogers.
Now to other news. Utter nonsense. That is how Minister of Citizenship Winston Felix described the claim of beleaguered opposition leader Barrett Jagdeo of voter padding with Haitians and Cubans. Here is Stacey Carmichael.
Minister Felix, on the sidelines of the 89th sitting of the National Assembly, said it is suspected that those unaccounted foreign nationals may have left the country legally through the country's vast and porous borders.
People can enter and leave from any backyard in the quarantine. Unfortunately, while we can operate on the land, it is not so easy to operate in the quarantine river because of jurisdictional issues.
Minister Felix reminded that Opposition Chief Whip Gail Teixeira and former Minister of Home Affairs is aware of the failed attempt in the 1990s by the security forces when they embarked on shutting down the illegal entry and exit points in East Berbice quarantine.
It is an irresponsible act to make Guyanese feel that foreigners from the Caribbean transiting Guyana is likely to cause some danger to Guyanese.
Minister of Foreign Affairs Carl Green said over the years there has been irregular migration of a vast number of foreign nationals moving throughout the region.
What I can say about the Haitians is that by and large we know that many of them land here and they are on their way to French Guyana. So I don't know where the committee could have arrived at the conclusion that there are hundreds of Haitians coming here and they're hiding somewhere in the country. Where are they?
Cognizant of its role, both ministers said they will appear before the Foreign Relations Committee and advance their arguments. For InfoHub, Stacey Carmichael.
Stacey now reports that Finance Minister Winston Jordan on Monday clarified that Guyana's external debt currently stands below 50% of its gross domestic product.
The international threshold for HIPIC-type countries is 60% of GDP. So don't even bother with any propaganda that you're hearing.
Minister of Finance Winston Jordan prior to the 89th sitting of the National Assembly. He also clarified that external debt should be viewed in relative terms and not absolute, noting that as the economy continues to grow, it can take on more debt. While quashing claims that the government borrowed $50 billion from the central bank, Minister Jordan explained that the government inherited a consolidated fund that was in overdraft.
For years, the consolidated fund was in overdraft. So much so that the last government had to abandon the forced consolidated fund, which is still in overdraft, created a new consolidated fund, and all that went into overdraft.
The overdraft, Minister Jordan said, resulted from the Gold Board's operation, which depended significantly on the fund. For InfoHub, Stacey Carmichael. Daddy!
Thanks for staying with us. Preparations for Guyana's hosting of the inaugural International Civil Aviation Organization Air Transport meeting in November are progressing smoothly. Renata Lafleur has the details.
Director General of the Guyana Civil Aviation Authority, Lieutenant Colonel retired Egbert Field, told InfoHub that the preparations for the major event commenced in January of this year. Field said a local steering committee comprising GCAA members and the National Organizing Committee, with ministries and agencies representatives, are managing preparations.
Meetings are held of the National Organizing Committee every third Wednesday of each month, and that committee, we deliberate on items which are then worked on by the steering committee.
The meeting, hosted in Guyana for the first time, formally opens in November 21st and ends on November 23rd. It will be held at the Arthur Chung Conference Center. GCAA is working to source sponsorship to fund the event, which may cost in the vicinity of $80 million.
So as not to cost the government or have them spend a lot of money on this conference. We have embarked on a process of sponsorship from aviation entities and also establishments, not only in Guyana but around the world, so that it can be financed. It's a very large budget, but we're hoping that the sponsorship will be able to cover for the expenses of this conference.
Approximately 192 countries are expected to participate in the meeting. Connectivity, air transport, infrastructure, and tourism are among topics to be discussed. Renetta LaFleur for InfoHub.
Mobile pumps are to be deployed in Georgetown in time for the December rainy season. Paul McAdam tells us more.
The National Drainage and Irrigation Authority's Chief Executive Officer, Frederick Flatts, said the pumps are part of a larger package being funded under an Indian government line of credit.
The whole package is $4 million US.
That's for the pumps alone or pump and station?
That's for the pumps. And I should mention that the mobile pumps will be used in Georgetown to help relieve flooding in Georgetown.
Flatts explained that the pumps acquisition is awaiting the go-ahead from the National Procurement and Tender Administration Board, the NPTA, in keeping with procurement legislation.
As soon as we have that approval, we'll go ahead and hire a supplier of the pumps.
Since being elected, the government has implemented several major projects to clear and desilt drainage canals in and around Georgetown. In September 2017, the Mayor and City Council embarked on the cleaning and desilting of city drains, alleyways, and canals. Areas targeted included Agricola, Macdoom, Houston, Ramvelt, Border, Laceyton, La Rempentier, and South Commingsburg, with more than $5 million allocated for the cleaning of avenues and verges in the later stages. Paul McAdam for InfoHub.
Here's our final report. Sexual harassment in sport will not be tolerated, says Minister Norton. Here is Isaiah Braffett.
The minister made a stern announcement during a recent engagement with students, teachers, and coaches in Region 6, educating them on sexual harassment in sports. The issue, he said, needs to be dealt with.
We've had enough of it, but I am here to emphasize the fact that it is not going to be tolerated. We don't want any such thing. We have an open door policy. And the persons might not know this. We're here to listen to you. We heard there was something budding. We are waiting to find anybody guilty. We're putting everybody in the know-how.
Attorney-at-law Leslyn Charles, representing the ministry, told the audience that sexual harassment is a serious matter. Charles explained that most times the act is carried out by individuals who are in position of trust.
When a coach is looking out for an athlete, the coach is always in close contact with that athlete. So the coach has to touch the athlete might have a pull-up and they have to rub, and so they have a lot of physical contact, and that's where the opening comes.
While coaches were urged not to take advantage of athletes, parents were also called upon not to let their desire to see their children excel at sports outweigh their duty to protect them. Boris High School students Pranita Ramcharitar and Elliot Ramdan found the discussion to be very fruitful.
It was a very informative topic that most of the children and students, residents hardly know about it, and that we should be more aware of it as it becomes more of a serious problem.
It was educating, and I think that all the students here, they need to be aware of what's going on and people out there and the kind of things that are happening.
Minister Norton highlighted that sensitization sessions will continue countrywide so that those involved in sports know that sexual harassment will not be allowed. Isaiah Braffett for InfoHub.
Here now are your bridge and weather reports. And before we wrap up, let's leave you with the World Cup match results for today. Goodbye.